Assalamu alaikum dear students. So in the series of learning C programming we are discussing storage classes in C. In the previous video we have discussed what are storage classes, how do we use the storage classes, what information does storage classes contain, and what are the properties of the storage classes and how many storage classes are there in C. Every minute detail regarding the introduction to storage classes have been discussed in the previous video very minutely with the help of the program. So in today's video we are going to discuss the auto storage class in C. As I have told you that there are 4 different storage classes in C. For example, there are the auto storage class, external storage class, register storage class and static storage class. In this video we will discuss what is auto storage class, what information does auto storage class contain regarding the variable, and how to use the auto storage class. Every minute detail regarding the auto storage class will be discussed in today's video with the help of the example program. So our today's topic is auto storage class in C. As we know that when we declare a variable, for example, int x equal to 6. This is declaration of the variable. This line tells that x is the name of the variable. This stores the integer value. We are going to store the integer value. And here I have initialized also x with 6. That means the value at x is 6 and the name of the variable is x and the data type, that means the type of data that I want to store in it is integer. So this declaration, for example, by default, if I don't initialize it here, this declaration tells us only 2 things about the variable. First, the name of the variable and the data type of the variable. That means what type of data I want to store in that variable. But as I have told you in the previous video that this variable is associated with other things as well, with other information as well. Or we can say also some other information is also associated with this variable. And those information are, for example, default value, scope of the variable, location of the variable, and lifetime of the variable. These information or these things can be told by the storage classes. Or you can say the storage classes contains these values, these information regarding the variable. That means what would be the default value of the variable and what is the scope of that variable and what is the location of that variable and lifetime of the variable. These things are going to be told by their storage classes. And I have told you that there are 4 different types of the storage classes. For example, auto storage class, register storage class, external storage class, and static storage class. These informations, default value, scope, location, and lifetime, these information depends upon these storage classes. Or we can say auto, when we declare here auto. For example, if we declare auto here, that means this integer, the storage class of this variable is auto. This value would be something different than if I declare, if I show here register, for example, storage class register. That means these value get changes according to their storage classes. In this video, we will discuss what is the auto storage class or what would be the value, these values, when we have here auto storage class. When variable is associated with the auto storage class. What would be these values? accordingly. So, for example, here, if for example, if here I write auto int x, here I have declared a variable x of that integer, and its storage class is auto, and it is stored. If then the default value will be any garbage value. Garbage value. When the storage class associated with the variable is auto, the default value would be any garbage value. It can be a minus value, it can be a positive value, it can be a 0, it can be any keyword. That means I don't know what it could be. It could be anything. That means it can be garbage value. At that time, the default value is garbage. When I declare this integer as auto, when I associate auto storage class with this variable here, at that time the default value would be a garbage value, some garbage value. Okay. Now after that, location. What would be the location? Location of this variable. That means where this variable is going to be stored in the RAM or in the registers. For example, as I have also told you that whenever we execute any program, when the memory is going to be allocated from different sections of the memory, or there is memory layout. Some memory is allocated to the program, that, or we can say some memory is for the code and the text. Code and text that we write. Some memory is for the global and static variables. And some memory is for the stack and some for heap. This is the layout of the memory for a program. And when we declare or when we associate auto storage class, auto with the variable, at that time, this variable, the memory allocated for this variable is from stack. It is from the stack part of the memory. Okay, memory for this is allocated from the stack portion of the memory. So it is located, we can say the location of this memory variable is stack. It is located in the stack. Okay. Now, after that, now I hope you have now understood what would be the scope. No, sorry, what would be the location of the variable when we associate auto storage class with the variable. At that time, the location would be stack, and it is located in the stack for part of the portion of the memory. And the default value at that time would be garbage value. Okay. So now after that, there comes another scope. What would the scope? Here, I will write a small program, and with the help of that program, we will discuss scope and lifetime of the auto storage class. For example, here, int man, int x equal to 50. Sorry. Auto int x equal to 50. Here, auto int x printf percentage d x, here printf percentage d and x, and that is it. Here I have write down a program, and with the help of this program we will discuss what would be the scope and lifetime of these variables. Because here I have associated auto storage class with this variable. Here this tells that the storage class of this variable is auto, that means automatic, and the type of the data type of the variable is integer, and the value at this time in this x is 50. This line tells us. So what would happen here? I have declared x equal to 50, auto int x. Here I have also declared another this variable auto int x. Here I should initialize this. Here I have also initialized this. Now with this I am going to print here percentage d x. What would get printed here? Because I have not initialized this x here. I have not initialized this x here. Because the scope of this x is within this block. From this curly brace, opening curly brace, to up to this closing brace. It is called a block. It is a block. That means I have declared this x variable in this block, within this block. And the storage class I associated with it was auto. So what would get printed here? What would be the output? The output would be only garbage value. Garbage value. That means because by default I have not initialized this x here. By default, when we associate auto storage class with the variable, by default the value would be any garbage value. So here would be it would print some garbage value. Garbage value means anything it can print. It can print either negative value, it can print positive value, it can print any keyword. I don't know what it can print, but the value can be any garbage value. So because I have associated auto storage class with this variable, so the output will be garbage value. So at this time, by default, the default value of the variable whose storage class is auto is garbage value. After that, after existing from this printf percentage x, then here I am going to print the value of the x. What would it print? It would access this variable auto x equal to 30 and the 50. The result would be 50. It would print 50 because after this, from this, the lifetime of this x, we can say lifetime of this x variable is from this opening brace to this here, from here to here only. After exiting from this block, it is nowhere. That means after exiting from this memory, will get released. So it will not, this variable, the lifetime of will be from this to this. So after executing this line, printf percentage x, it will access now this auto 50, this value 50. So the value of this, I can say the value of x, in this case is 50, will get printed. Now we know that the scope of the variable whose storage class is auto is either function scope or we can say block scope. This scope can be either function or a block because I have declared this variable inside this block and the scope of this variable is x, that I can access this x only within this block, not outside this block. That means scope is x. It is only within a block. That means it has a scope of the variable whose storage class is auto is either within a block or within a function. Because this x here, which I have declared, auto x equal 50, its scope is from here to here. That means from this opening brace to this opening. That means within a function. That means within a function. So we can say the scope of those variables whose storage class is auto is either within a block or within a function, not within a program. That means we can access those variables only within that block where it has been declared or within a function where it has been declared. Okay, right? I hope you have understood the scope now. What would be the scope of the variable whose storage class is auto? For example, if I here declare auto int x equal to 30, we know that this is the global declaration. Global declaration. But I have used here auto storage class. It is not allowed. It is not allowed. We cannot write auto in global. We cannot declare auto variable globally. We can declare it either within a function or within a block. That means its scope is local. In other words, we can say the scope of auto storage class is local, not global. Hope now you have understood what is the scope of this variable whose storage class is global, and what is the location of the whose storage class is global, and what is the lifetime. Lifetime is either block or within a function, because after existing from this function I cannot access this variable. So we can say that it is lifetime is only within this function or within the block. I hope now every point I have discussed with you regarding this auto storage class. Yes, one more point. If, for example, here, if I don't specify here any storage class, I have declared here only int x equal to 50. By default, compile associates it with auto. By default, the storage class of the variable is auto. By default, the storage class of variable is auto. If I don't associate any storage class manually or explicitly, we can say at that time, by default, compile considers it an auto storage class. That means if we write here int x equal to 6, for example, or auto int x equal to 6, they are the same. This is also auto, the storage class of this is also auto, and this is also auto. Yeah, by default, the storage class of the variable is auto. Now I hope that you have understood what is the default value, scope, location, and lifetime of the variable when we associate storage class auto with the variable. Hope now you have understood these things as well. The default value of the variable whose storage class is auto is garbage value, and the scope is either block scope or function scope, and the location is stack. This variable is stored in the stack, and the lifetime is within the function or within the block. And inshallah, in the next video, we will discuss one more storage class in C that will be discussed in the next video with the help of the example as well. Till next video, take care. Bye bye.